Chief, what have you been up to up there? Rhonda, is there any additions to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of any additions.
No. Would you guys please take your seat? County Counsel, will you read the items into the record for the closed session?
Certainly, Chairman. There are a handful of items today. One of them is labor negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Adrian Caleb, and the employee organization are all units. We have two existing litigation matters pursuant to 54956.9 subsection D1. One is Kirsten Hawk versus the County of Madera. The other is the California Department of Transportation versus Madera County, and that is an existing settlement agreement implementation. There are two significant exposures to litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2. There's one public employee employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, and the title of that position is Director of Social Services. And there are three performance evaluations under Government Code Section 54957. The title of positions are the Director of Public Works, the Director of Community and Economic Development, and the Director of Water and Natural Resources.
Any comments from the public on the closed items? County Council, do we have anything to report on closed session?
Chairman, there are no items to report from closed session.
Very good. At this time, we'll adjourn as the Board of Supervisors to reconvene as IHS meeting.
Yes, sir. The public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Okay. One. Call the meeting of ISS to order. Need approval of the minutes. Should we go into closed session now?
Sure, Chairman, I'll read the closed session items.
We got the
Excuse me,
consent
Yeah.
I believe Supervisor Rogers made a motion to accept the consent calendar with the minutes.
I second.
calendar. We have a second. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, the closed session items is labor negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Hub Walsh, Karan Sandhu, Susan Ortega, Kathleen Johnson, and Steve Mendick.
Do we have any public comments on this item? On the closed session item? Not at all. Okay. County Council, anything to report, closed session?
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from closed session.
Okay, we'll hereby adjourn as IHSS Board of Directors and reconvene as Board of Supervisors. Invocation by Mark Lacaze, Grace Community Church, and pledge allegiance by Supervisor Tom Wheeler.
Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for these men that have been elected to the Board of Supervisors. And I just pray that you would give them a spirit of discernment and wisdom, that they would make prudent decisions for our county. Lord, that they would, in every day and every aspect of their job, Lord, remember that they are making decisions for tens of thousands of residents here in the county. Lord, our motto here is in God we trust. And I just pray that they would put their trust in you and that they would look to you. Lord, there are times where there can be situations that come up that maybe seem impossible or insurmountable, but your word says all things are possible with God. And so, Lord, we pray that you would empower them and encourage them to continue the work that you have appointed them to do. May your blessing be upon them and their families and all that you have given to them. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you say that about Irvin Brown? Can you say about open and closing for Irvin? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to open and close this meeting in memory of Irving Brown from North Fork. Been a long time resident up there, and he's done so much for the community and for people that's underprivileged. He's always raised pigs and stuff like that, and he always gave people food. So he was great. He used to smoke it and the meat stuff, and he was quite a cook too. So, and he had security business. He did all the security over at Bonds and Rayleigh's and stuff. Great guy. Way too young. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Nope.
We have some from District 2. I don't think I gave Supervisor Rogers a list. For Stephen Jean Silva, Mildred Ann Forrest, Orville Lee Adams, and Elmadale Kaiser, and Mary Florence Branco.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate doing that. I totally slipped my mind.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock hearing.
Okay, the 10 o'clock hearings are the public comments, sir. Mr. Chairman, did we want to go to the 10 o'clock hearing or to public comment? Public comment? Okay.
None.
The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Good morning, Dennis Cook, Behavioral Health Services Director. Good morning, Chairman Rodriguez and board members. As you will notice by the green buttons and ties and information in front of you, May is Mental Health Month. And I just want to spend just about a minute talking about mental health and then about a minute talking about my staff. May is Mental Health Month. National Mental Health Month raises the awareness of mental health in communities, counties, states, and throughout the nation. It gives us a chance each year to come and speak about mental health and raise that awareness. And often there's a lot of negative attitudes and creates stigma about mental health. So this gives us the opportunity to raise that awareness. And just to give you a couple different facts, 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. will experience a mental illness over the next years. Half of them will not receive services. And about 1 in 25 adults will have a serious mental illness. And a third of them will not receive services. 1 in 10 adults will experience a substance use disorder. 90% of them will never seek treatment. So while we're getting better with our attitudes and discussion, it still becomes something that is whispered, that is not talking openly. I was thinking when I was walking over here that I recently was at a lunch and someone openly discussed about having a colonoscopy exam. And that seems to be common practice now to discuss that. I still have some issues with that around the lunch hour. But I can imagine that conversation if someone also said, oh, by the way, I think I'm going to go have a mental health examination this afternoon, too. That would probably be a buzzkill with the lunch, and it's not as openly discussed yet again
when we look at how many people in the United States, adults and kids, that need those services, that it goes unspoken. We're gradually changing that. We need more to do with that. Now I just want to take a moment and on May is Mental Health Month, to thank all of my staff. Today we have about 140 people working in mental health and substance use disorders in our department. We're going to provide services to about 200 to 250 clients today. Most of those clients will be walking through the doors of one of our 4 clinics, but a number of those clients are not. Our staff go out to where they are, to where they live, to where they reside, whether that be on the streets, whether that be at the rescue mission. Some of them are going to visit clients in the jail, some at the juvenile hall, some at Valley Children's Hospital Emergency Room, Madera Community Hospital Emergency Room. And then some of our staff are going to go out and see clients that are in inpatient psychiatric centers throughout the state. The last I checked a few days ago, we had 10 clients that are residents of Madera County in psychiatric facilities throughout the state. 7 are adults, 3 are kids. Our staff are very active in going to see our clients. We have a fantastic group of staff, and in fact, we are only successful because of the individual dedication, perseverance, intelligence, desire to help people from the individual staff person that every day tries to help clients with mental illness. And some days I think they get a lot of rewards by watching how their clients are doing well. And there's some days where they're just struggling to get through with another client they're seeing come about 4 o'clock that afternoon. I want to thank them, and I just tell them often and don't tell them enough how much I appreciate them, how much the community appreciates them. I know how much you all appreciate them too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis.
Hello, I'm Leonard Williams. I'm your Madera County Veteran Service Officer. Thank you for your time. Board of Supervisors, people, public. I have an announcement. Just want to go over some of the veteran stuff if you didn't know. May is Military Appreciation Month.
Bless you.
And I just wanted to make the announcement. So this month covers the celebration and thankfulness of the military members, including spouses and dependents that are currently serving in the armed forces. Also, it memorializes those who have passed away, whether in service or out of service, and so we have a couple of days that will cover there in May. So the first dates I want to go through is on the 6th of May, the VFW post 1981 is going to end up this Saturday having a car show. And with their proceeds, they're going to end up donating those to the veterans or whatever they're going to do. But there's a 3rd annual car show at VFW Post 1981 on the 6th of May, and that starts early in the morning until the end of the day. On the 12th of May is the Military Spouses Appreciation Day. So just want to make that announcement on that. So get something for your spouses if you're a military member. On the 20th of May, Madera Elks number 1918 is going to be having a luncheon. And there's a couple other events that I was going to get. I think Oakhurst is having a couple events up there too. But there's a luncheon that's going to be at the Madera Elks Club. And then on the 29th of May to end the month, being held by VFW Post 1981 and American Legion Post number 11, they're going to have their memorial ceremony, which is here at the courthouse, and they'll have all the flags out, and then they're still solidifying some of the events on that day as far as speakers and another sort. I'm sorry? Also in Chowchilla at the memorial cemetery there.
Thank you, Supervisor Rogers. Other than that, I don't have anything else for you. Is there any questions for me?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Doing a good job.
Item 14, consent calendar.
I got one question.
Chairman, sorry, Supervisor Wheeler. There is a Lozano Smith contract on consent calendar, so I'm going to step down from the dais and have Doug come up here to advise the board during consent.
Supervisor Fraser.
Mine's actually regarding G. I just wanted to know, so in getting into this agreement with legal services, is this going to put us over our million? Is this above and beyond what we're already budgeted for?
Darren McCown with the County Administrative Office. This proposed agreement is specific to only litigation or similar services. The other contract that we have with the CAP actually contemplated that this litigated work would be subject to a separate agreement. That litigated work has always been tracked and invoiced separately. It's just that there was no contract in place. It was oversight in terms of getting that separate second separate agreement in place.
So it's been budgeted. It's been.
It hasn't been budgeted to the CAP, but we have monies for outside counsel, outside litigation services performed not only by Lozano but by any of the other number of firms that do work for the county.
And so how do we make the determination as to who does the litigation? Does County Counsel Lozano Smith just give it to themselves? Does it go?
No,
what process does it go through
to
determine what litigation?
It's kind of case specific. In a number of instances, your board will direct the referral, depending probably on the complexity of the case. In others, those that are part of the general liability trust, those cases are made by risk management, and most other instances are referred out of the claims review committee, which is made up of myself, County Counsel, the auditor, and the deputy CIO over finance.
So there's a process by which
there's no instance where Lozano
we want
Smith,
this case.
Right. There's no.
We're going to give this
Lozano
one because we don't want it. There is a process.
Right. There's no instance where Lozano Smith is referring work to themselves.
Okay. That's all I have.
And I got one.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes. Item I, the term of the scope for this BAS Incorporated for the fair meat deal. It's $1 million, $1.3 million actually a year. What does that cover? That kind of money?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Adolf Yad, Public Works Director. This June 30th we will expire the contract. The contract expires with Tetra Tech BAS. They're the ones who are doing their environmental and engineering services. We do have a 2-year extension, optional, which this is what we are trying to entertain. And with these additional money, we have capital improvements for our gas systems that are needed still. Also keep the routine and expectations or some reserves for non-routine items as they come.
So they're putting in the gas system?
They already did, but it needs to be maintained and also improved. We still have some sections of the gas systems that is yet to be improved. They are the ones who installed the flare and did all the new drilling and replacing of the gas wells.
Is that extra separate money from this $1.3 million, or is that?
No, that includes that money for each year. First year is
the rest of the work they're going to do?
Correct. We have a plan that we met with our consultant. We visited them in their headquarters, and we come up with a plan how to really sharpen our pencil and try to stay in compliance as cost effectively as possible.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I move to approve.
Second.
Out to the public? Bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second, roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. 10 o'clock.
Public hearing, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Hearing to consider request by Michael C. Steen to amend the Madera County General Plan pursuant to Section 65-358 of the Government Code. The area to be considered consists of 10.13 acres located on the east side of Highway 41, approximately .15 miles north of its intersection with Lucky Lane in Coarse Gold. The proposal by Steen Michael C. is to amend the area now shown as rural residential to community commercial. Area plan rural residential to be amended to commercial local designation. A rezoning will also be considered to change the zoning from residential mountain single family to commercial rural median. A draft mitigated negative declaration has been prepared concerning the proposed project in compliance with provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act and is available together with the initial study for public review of the Madera County Planning Department. The property is owned by Steen Michael C., 10.13 acres, APN 054-460-005 and 054-460-006.
Good morning. Thank you. I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and I'd like to especially thank the planning office for being very generous with me.
There'll be a portion where you can speak. Right now it's in staff. So I'm just letting you know.
And we're fine. We think that's great. So, Chairman, members of the board, Norman Allender appearing here with Matt Schriever and Robert Mansfield, and these two gentlemen handle this through the process. Also, we have Public Works, Environmental Health, and Fire Marshal here if you have any specific questions. So with that, I'll turn to Mr. Schriever and Mr. Mansfield.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and Norm. Robert has a brief PowerPoint presentation to go through for the board and the public's consideration as well.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Robert Mansfield from the Planning Division. As was introduced, this is a rezone and general plan amendment for Mr. Steen. The project is located on the east side of Highway 41, just over a tenth of a mile north of its intersection with Lucky Lane. The rezone will be from residential mountain single family to commercial rural median mountain, and the general plan amendment and course called area plan amendment will be from from rural residential to community commercial, and this is to allow for potential commercial development on the property. Also before you is the mitigated negative declaration 2016-21, looking at specifics of air quality impacts, water quality, traffic, and transportation. As we see here, the general plan currently for the two parcels is rural residential, as is around in the surrounding. The course code area plan is the exact same rural residential. Currently, as indicated, zoning is residential mountain single family. The proposal is to amend the current designations to allow for the current business to continue and for potential future commercial development. Currently existing is a cat and dog kennel and pet and livestock retail operations. The business is currently located on a local major corridor in the area, while the remaining parcels in the area will be continue to be residential. There are commercial designations in the area that would make this a logical action to take because it does serve the community in the area. Here's the site plan that we see. The north parcel is where the majority of the work is, where the majority of the operations are currently occurring. With the rezone and general plan designations, both parcels will be able to be utilized for this and future operations. Planning Commission, by vote of 5-0, and staff recommendation approval of both the rezoning 2016-010 and general plan amendment 2016-003 with the conditions presented, as well as the mitigated negative declaration 2016-21 and the mitigation monitoring program. That concludes the presentation. Staff remains available for questions.
And Chairman, just one clarification with that. This is an existing operation, and this is not the result of any violation or any problem. So the action here will recognize the existing operation, which is good, but also allow expansion through the normal process. So, this is just really, bringing it up to what they have been doing. This is not a result of anybody doing anything wrong or anything. It's just been a long-standing use that had never been addressed. So and it predates zoning, actually. It predates the zoning ordinance. So this is really just bringing the zoning ordinance in line with what's happening out there, but all the findings could be made, and this isn't the result of any kind of controversy. Thank you.
Right. I had a quick question. Should operations change and become more aggressive in different nature, I'm assuming that at that point, Caltrans will probably get involved with the right-of-way questions there.
Yeah, so Supervisor Rogers, that's an excellent point. We've discussed with Caltrans this project. They have no opposition or concerns. They did ask that a kind of a site plan overlay be placed on the parcels, which we don't have that process, but there is a condition of approval that's been placed on the project that any expansion beyond 1,500 square feet would require a staff-level review of a site plan review and zoning administration process, which then Caltrans could look at for that very concern,
ingress and egress from 41.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. Thank you.
Norman, are we done?
I apologize. Yes, that completes staff presentation. We're available for questions.
We'll take public testimony now.
County Council, do we have to have them sworn in?
This is not quasi-judicial, County Council.
It's not quasi? No, thank you. Never mind. Go ahead.
I'll just thank you for considering my proposal, and I think
Push that little button, Mike. It's not on. Right in the middle. Was it?
Get a bit closer to the mic, yeah.
We're deaf up here and can't hear out of this ear.
I can't hear either. So, I think it is the right area with being between the street signals, and it's been discussed over the years that that's kind of where the growth would go. Coarse gold is essentially full. The only available property right in Coarse Gold is pretty environmentally sensitive, right on the creek. There's nothing else. So it just has always made sense to me that down the road, and I'm basically looking for options that my family and I can develop the property down the road. My children, born and raised here, and they're staying in Madera County, and I want them to have all the options that I can give them.
Absolutely.
And that's basically
Absolutely.
it.
He runs a really clean outfit there. I mean, it's really nice.
Thank you.
Supervisor Dave Rogers, any comments?
No, all right, comments. Okay. I apologize for being so specific on what I was doing earlier. I'm trying to keep things
Oh, that's okay.
so that we don't have any problems later down the line.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I move.
We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
I move we approve item 6A.
Second.
We have first and second, roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you, staff.
We're down to regular session.
Item 7A, Board of Supervisors, Department, District 1, presentation of a proclamation celebrating the 30th anniversary of Valley Teen Ranch. Whereas the Madera County Board of Supervisors recognizes the dedication and commitment of the Valley Teen Ranch, and whereas the Valley Teen Ranch is a private, nonprofit, state-licensed therapeutic residential group home located in Madera County for 32 vulnerable teenage boys, and whereas the mission of Valley Teen Ranch is to provide hope to vulnerable children, youth, and families through life-changing relationships and experiences. Over the past 30 years, Valley Teen Ranch has worked with over 2,100 children and youth, including the facilitation of 225 adoptions. And whereas Valley Teen Ranch was established in 1987 and is celebrating 30 years of business in May 2017, and now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize Valley Teen Ranch for its dedication and commitment to this vulnerable population, and to congratulate them on celebrating 30 years of business.
Thank you so much for allowing me this. This is a great home for these kids. 30 years in our community, and helping kids from other communities. And I know playing football back in high school, there was a couple kids. I know one in particular that became a great friend of mine from Valley Teen Ranch, Gerald Wary. That was, you could see, in talking to him as a friend, where he came from was despair, and he had no hope. But once he got there, he was full of life, and he would just talk about how that had changed his life. And that's just one story out of the 2,100 kids that you've touched their lives, Connie. And we appreciate everything you do in our community. Thank you for having the heart to care for these young men and get them on a path to success. So can't thank you enough. The only way we can do it up here is with a proclamation, and I'm happy to do that to commemorate your 30 years. We'll go down and take a picture.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And one of the things that's going to be happening on our 30th anniversary is we're going to be rebranding. Our name is going to be Ray of Hope, a Valley Teen Ranch organization, because we also in these 30 years have started foster care and adoption and transitional living. So it's more than just the ranch in the valley for teens. Our legal name will still be Valley Teen Ranch. But thank you for your support and your encouragement, and we plan to stay for another 100 years. Okay, God bless you.
And now we'll get you hooked up to the meeting.
Oh, yes, please do that.
We're getting there, though.
Yes, progress.
They're checking the thermostats. They're not working right. One more.
Seven B, Social Services Department, presentation of proclamation naming May 2017 as Resource Family Appreciation Month. Whereas resource families play a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect by opening their homes and hearts, and whereas currently 356 Madera County children and youth are in out-of-home care, and whereas resource families provide a meaningful connection to these youth and become a trustworthy and lasting presence in their lives, and whereas a child's success is best supported in a system that is family-focused, child-centered, and community-based, and whereas, especially during the month of May, we express our gratitude and respect to the many resource families throughout Madera County who make a meaningful difference in the lives of the children and youth in the foster care. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby proclaim May 2017 as Resource Family Appreciation Month. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors recognizes the resource families of Madera County who devote their talents and energies on behalf of children and acknowledges all they do in helping children and families achieve positive outcomes.
Thank you very much. Hub Walsh with the Department of Social Services. Yes, it's terrific that you would recognize resource families, and I will hark at it because I've got the gray hair, to the days when the reference was to out-of-home care, to foster families, but frankly it's resource families. They're providing resources not only to children, the 356, but also to other extended because that child remains in their home. And so it really is appropriate that we recognize them. We thank you very much for your recognition of them because, as you're aware, is that you're the de facto parent for those 356 children when they're in care because of when they've required removal from their home, and the county has assumed that role. And so it's great that we recognize those resources who come alongside it. And today we have with us Olga Hernandez, Martha Bergen, and Jackie Gutierrez to represent some of those folks. And we'd love a picture with you if you could possible.
I do. It's a cartoon character. Is it air conditioning on?
Summer's here, but then it's going to rain again Saturday. So
it's supposed to be, what, 98 tomorrow?
Yeah. You believe that?
7C, County Administration Department. Presentation from 5 Creative Group and direction to staff regarding updates to the county seal and brand development.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Eric Fleming, County Administrator. This is a continuation of the discussion that started at your last board meeting. And Ron Nickel is here from 5 Creative Group to provide some new images that reflect some of the feedback that you gave him at the last meeting.
Good morning. Okay, we have, let's see, there we go. We went back and we had an assignment to take care of for you guys, and so we went back in and did a little design work, a little graphic work, some alterations to our initial presentation. So just on page 1 there, that lists basically our checklist of what we were taking a look at. One was simplify and look at the font treatment. There was a concern about the style, maybe making sure that it wasn't too trendy, something that was going to go out of style easily. So we looked at that. Secondly was the discussion of including the courthouse, but at a reduced size in relationship to the rest of the mark. And then thirdly was maintaining sort of that multiple river or connection to the Sierras graphic, and maintain that on all the marks, even the ones where we were going to incorporate the courthouse. And then fourthly was addition of and looking at the gray as a color option, incorporating that back into the logo as well. So this page 3 there represents the initial presentation that we did of the mark without the courthouse. Basically, we simplified the font, took a little bit of the overly stylized edges off of those to simplify that. I think the concern there was a little of making sure we still had somewhat of an institutional feel versus a trendy sort of graphic, overly graphic designed feel. So that's page 3. Moving on to page 4, this incorporates the courthouse. at a reduced size so that it wasn't really not taking up as much of the concentration of the center of the logo. This particular mark, A2, shows it incorporated into the blue scheme of the Sierras and making that connection with the rivers. And then page 5 shows us incorporation of the gray. This also is the reduced courthouse size, but mixed in with our gray element, bringing in a fourth color there to represent that. And then all of these include, we did have a little bit of a discussion about the sun graphic, and all of these on this first section here retain that yellow color. This on page 6, this is basically what we just looked at, except this incorporates the Universe font, which is I would say it's a more of a standardized font. So it's a little bit stylized a little bit differently, fairly close, but it is what I would consider a more traditional font treatment. And this shows each of those marks with that font included. Moving on to page 7, we had the discussion about the yellow color and maybe thinking about eliminating that. So what we did here was take a look at just using blue, which is the current sky color that's in the current logo, and basically using the negative space of the sun to create that feel of the sun rays. So this gives you those same versions that we just looked at, except we're going with a brighter blue color for sky.
Yeah, in a minute.
Page 8 gives you those same renditions, but this was with our sort of version A font treatment. So this goes back to the original font and incorporates the blue. And then the next page there, page 9, gives us just really simply lays out the font treatments. There's 2 that we're concentrating on. The top version becomes a custom font because we've taken something that you can type in and basically eliminated some of the little overly stylized serif to get that look. The lower font is called Universe Bold Condensed. It's a more standardized font. And I guess the benefits to that is as we work through the standards, that's a more universally used font, so it's easier to incorporate into the standards that the staff could use it as an example. Page 10 there gives us 2 color schemes that we'd be looking towards. Basically the difference between yellow and blue. Page 11, we also, as we get in a little deeper into this, the study of the mark, we look at different treatments and how it can be universally used, and this shows us concepts of how this could, moving forwards, it could be, say, made into a medallion, those sort of things. So we like to look at those treatments to know that the elements are all going to work in those situations as well, where they're basically a single color. So this shows 2 of the examples there of that. And then lastly, on page 11, this is what we would consider our horizontal format. And so this is not a replacement for the circular, what we'd call the circular mark. We feel like in the branding scheme, these are 2 options. And we can sort of level these, meaning level 1, or the preferred mark would be the circular when you can use that. But in cases where, let's say, the real estate's more horizontal, you have this option. It stays within our standards, and everything still fits within everything that we've developed to this point. And it just gives you a way to better utilize the space. So that concludes what we took a look at and what we reviewed to date.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, thank you. I think it was about 6 or 9 months ago, the Visitor Bureau decided they'd rebrand. We've talked about it a few times, and then today the Teen Ranch, here they are saying they're rebranding. And I think this is fitting right along. Everyone I've talked to, I haven't had anybody up there say no. The versions I really like is the one of the courthouse. Last time I said, maybe leave the courthouse out, but making it small and setting it like that, it makes it look good. You added it made it look good. On page 11, I like C4, where you got 2 page 11s, and on the second page 11, I like the even lower one. I like that type font lots better than the other one. It's the more rounded corners and stuff. And the yellow or the blue sky, I could go either way on that. The font on page 9, that's the Universal Bold condensed font. That's the one I like personally. But the blue and the yellow, I could go either way. But I do like that, the courthouse in there. It's interesting enough that it makes it look pretty darn decent. Thank you.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah, I like my favorite is the A6 on page 8 with the blue sky. I think the yellow sometimes is offensive to me. I don't know. It's too much.
That's a happy color.
It's a happy color.
Be happy about that.
It is a happy color. I wore my gray suit for the gray part of this. But I like the way that this looks. It seems like it's all part of the same palette to me. I mean, that's just me. And I like the negative space of the sun. You still get the excitement of it, but you get the blue skies. I personally like this more. I think it speaks more to Madera County. I think maybe it's because yellow. It's when it's summer, where everything is, when it's summer and it's dead. And I like the greens and the blue, because right now we have when you're driving out towards the east and you see the mountains and you have that gray and the blue skies and the green, and it's just it represents when Madera is at its best, at its peak, I think, is what these colors represent. And the yellow is maybe the dead grasses.
Trees all over.
Yeah. In terms of the font on the sign, the Madera County sign, which one is it closer to? Is it closer to the squared off one?
Yes, the original.
So the original custom font is what the font for...
It is closest to that,
It's closest to that. So if that's part of our overall branding, we want to have that...
Well, it's not too late to change that, is it?
Right, not to say that we could not.
Not that we couldn't change that, yeah.
They're both somewhat condensed fonts, so that actually both will work in that sign setting.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to be cognizant of that. That if we're branding, it has to be consistent everywhere that we're doing it. And because personally, I mean, I like Tom does this more rounded. It seems more professional. But I think this would be I think the more squared off one would be a better sign look. But I mean, now we're getting really down in the nitty gritty. But I think ASIC.
As I look at all of these, they're pretty nice. But I keep coming back to logo 8, A2 with the sun rays. The valley is very sunny, and that's part of us. We have the three rivers coming from the mountains. Then we have the fields out here, ag represented. But we got to keep that courthouse there. Mm-hmm. But I do like that yellow up there on top, the rays, the sun rays, I suppose that's what you can call it. And I think the A2 would represent Madera. And then the circle, I like that. Everything's included. And I think people would identify this if we just went blue or other colors. I think A2 is appropriate for Madera County.
Without the gray?
Without the gray, yes. The blue to me, it looks good. It just, a solid color.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisor Dave Rogers?
Yeah, I like what you've come up with on the options. The one that stands out to me is A6. As kind of softer, but it's got the courthouse in it. The gray, the palette is much more pleasing to the eye. I was really stuck on the yellow originally, and this kind of moved me over there because it's softer. The question is, do we want to be bold or soft? I think if you use the yellow, that's bold, very bold. It almost leans toward making the blue purple. I think when you add the yellow in there, because your eye wants to pick up that purple tone. Apparently, I don't know why. I see purple instead of blue.
I see it as the Lakers as well.
It looks like the Lakers. It looks like the Lakers.
Good thing.
Or the
Yeah,
Vikings.
that's exactly.
Yeah. Either the Lakers or the Vikings.
That's
comes
what it
out
is.
in
He's
that.
a Warriors fan.
Yeah. But the one that stands out to me, I think, overall is A6, but I could live with B3 as well.
Supervisor Poitras?
The only thing I'd like to provide input on regarding these options, great job. I like the courthouse with the purple. It seems like you throw the gray in and it's just one more color or something that is added in there. I really like it with the purple background. And it's something, and then again, just kind of taking when I glance at both the sun horizon or the sky, or the blue sky horizon, it just seems like the sun horizon is more appealing for whatever reason. I don't know, can't put a finger on it. It just looks better than kind of that green, purple, blue. But anyway, thank you.
I got one more. Yeah.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. Would it be possible, like on A6, or if we wanted to keep it that A5, all blue? I kind of like that too. The gray, I don't know, kind of takes away.
I like the A5 too.
The gray takes away from it to me. But what about putting yellow in the circle? Either blue, the purple, and the green, and put yellow just in the sun.
The only thing I'd say about that technically is we're breaking our sort of a standard that we've set, because if you look at the style of the mark, everything's reversed out, meaning they're knockouts of the color. So if we're going to fill, all of a sudden we've changed a little bit of the style. That may be a bit technical, maybe, or like a detail that no one cares about, but in our world, like we would actually be then filling in the color, which would then lend me to say, well, should the fields then have a lighter green or a dark green in the furrows,
and then that
kind of stuff starts to happen. So
okay, I had sure some like yellow, and some didn't. I just saw it. And then if you look at the last page, 11, if you look at the font, if you look back and look at it far away when you're driving up to it, like Brett was saying on Highway 41. I think you can read the Madera County lower one a lot better than you can the other one, because they're too close together. And when you get far away driving by fast, it looks like the U might just be an I.
I agree. I like the font that you like better. I had just remembered that the sign was like that, and so I didn't know. But if we could change the sign to this other font, then because I agree with you on that. I just remember
look back and just set it here and look at it. You can. I mean, that stands out a lot better now.
You're referencing the universe style, as preferred. Yeah, the big thing about that also is when you bring it's more curved. So, for instance, if you look at the top font, what's the difference between the O and the D? You start. I mean, we're kind of getting into the middle,
right?
Yeah, it kind of boxes everything.
Yeah, but we've been taught as a public to understand like the round O and the round part of a D, so that it reads this right away. So you're going to get a clear,
better
read on that. You will.
Yeah, that's
Mauera.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, just a thought on Tom talked about adding the yellow in on what was it, A5?
Mm-hmm.
What if you did that in the sun's rays, the other part of the rays?
That's
Too much yellow.
Yellow, blue.
Yeah, and I do think we have to be careful. Then we're going to start we're going to add another color into our mix.
Yeah.
And so I think, for lack of a better term, I don't want it to appear like as a circus might appear.
Yeah, no, right.
A5.
It's not a technical term, but
I think B5 is about it then.
Oh yeah, B5.
I would vote on B5 if everybody liked it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You picked into it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
B5
fine. Looks good.
I think the yellow is stark.
Brett?
I'm good with B5.
I am too.
Matt?
Yeah.
No, I'll go with A2.
Well, guess what? 4-1.
I move that we approve B5.
I second it.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler, or Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Nope.
Vote passes 4-1.
Was that on A5 on that motion, will you make it the second font, not that, what's on there? A5 has the square.
Yeah, that.
You mean B5?
Because I think that includes the universal bold condensed font, so that that just goes across the whole gamut, right? For the
Universal bold. Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, could I get some clarification on one thing now that you've selected? I think if we think about, when we're going to label our fleet, I think these would look really sharp on our fleet vehicles, like maybe the black. Because what we have right now doesn't really pop, it doesn't stand out, and it tends to fade over time.
All vehicles are white.
Yeah, so I wanted to get some input, if it's okay from the board, on what we might put on our vehicles.
So be black and white, not
like black and white or something.
How about blue and white?
Or in a color.
How about blue?
But like, one of these that are more bold, that stand out.
Right, and I passed one of your vehicles coming in the parking lot, and they're
you can't always see
like
them.
that. It seems so. And we're going to this is going to really change that, because the graphic shapes are simpler. It's going to be bolder, and then we also have the option of doing that sort of a simpler treatment, even a single color. And so we work through that. Once we get past, okay, this is where we are, this is what we've decided on, we then work out the whole system that will be based on that.
Very nice.
What do you guys think about C2 being blue?
Well, maybe, Ron, would you recommend coming up with the whole, coming up with a recommendation for the vehicles, and then we come back with that? Or?
Yes, I think that's an avenue we go down, and we really look at vehicles, how you use them, what types of vehicles they are, and then we get a universal system that's standard for that.
I agree with Tom. Eric's the one that brought it up, and then he shot you down after you said C2. I don't get it.
I don't either. And personally, I don't care if it's round on that on last page 11 with that straight line, with that being blue, the yellow, that would really stand out on our cars.
Yeah.
You don't have to be no circle.
Yeah, that's right.
Personally, and you can't read circles. If you go by any of these, any county, almost every one of them, if you look at their cars, it has it on, but you can't read it. You can read Madera County if it's a straight line.
Yeah, you go more by the shape of the colors than you do the actual
by how you read it. You can't read it.
Yeah, you only know just like if that you can guess that's Fresno County and that one's Merced County, and
but you know by the shape and the color. You don't know by reading it, because you can't read the darn thing.
Right.
If you have a straight line like that, I think you read that so much better. And why do we got to be like the other counties? We're sure not.
Can we add underneath that where it says Madera County, how am I driving? Call 1-800. No.
Yes. We can put that in yellow.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, it was B5. Is that?
Yes.
I might have been lost in the shuffle there.
B5.
Sure. Wait. Yeah, B5. Or no?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
B5.
Yeah, B5.
And to clarify, that is blue color,
right?
Rather than purple.
Right.
Yeah.
It may look a little, but we would dial that in as well. But I believe it needs to be a blue, like a navy.
Well, the
blue.
yellow kind of pulled it in as a purple almost.
Yes.
I think, in your mind's eye. So, yeah, that looks great. B5.
Okay. Anything else? So we'll put together a plan based on that, and we will move out the brand graphics that'll work out from there to include everything from vehicles to online to all of that.
Big mistake.
Well, when everybody hates it, we can say, well, Max voted against
it.
I
told you guys.
He knew it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7D, Community and Economic Development Department, Building Division. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Human Resources Operations Division to amend the position allocation within Community and Economic Development Department, Building Division as follows. 1, reduce the allocation for Office Assistant 1-2 by 1 full-time employee position as reflected in the 2016-17 budget, and add 1 full-time employee Building Inspector 1-2 position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber with Community Economic Development. I have Harry Hinton, our county building official, here as well. I did want to take a little time and just thank Eric and Joel and really Adrian and her office helping us out on this item. There's been a big uptick in development and building, as this board knows, primarily on the 41 corridor. That has seen us get delayed on some of our turnaround time and inspections. And Harry's been breathing down my neck to make sure we get that addressed. So, and give the best service we can out there. This will allow us to bring another inspector in. Right now we're at about 2-day turnaround on inspections. With this additional increase, we should be able to get back to a kind of a 24-hour turnaround with that.
Move to approve.
So, second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Does that mean you're stepping down to a lower position, Harry? Or?
I'm already going out doing
Oh, okay.
7E, Public Works Department, Capital Improvement Projects Division. Discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution certifying the county maintained road mileage report for year ending December 31st, 2016.
Chairman, members of the board, Jared Carter and Deputy Director and Ahmad Al-Khayyat, our Public Works Director, are here. I also wanted to offer and something we did last year around this time. We had 2 presentations in front of the board. I know there were 4 of you that were here. Supervisor Poitras, who was before, he was on there. It was one on the solid waste program, and it was a comprehensive overview because, as you know, there's a lot of things going on with the landfill. Of course, a lot of improvements have been made. The second presentation we did, was it May of last year or something? Was it April or May? It was a comprehensive overview of the road program. So as it exists here from a year ago, there is a comprehensive presentation that's available. Again, if the board was so inclined in receiving this report today and in voting, we would be happy to receive direction to do a comprehensive overview in open session or do it another way. So I just wanted to let the board know that that is available and it does exist, and I will turn it over to Public Works. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, I'm Ahmad Al-Khayyat. The item here is basically an annual housekeeping item. As per the Street and Highway Code, each county needs to provide any additional or exclusion in the highway maintained miles during the past calendar year. Our last calendar year, our mileage was at 1,511 miles and 0.53. This year, we have a total of 0.21 centerline miles of county-maintained roads were vacated, and 0.32 centerline miles of roadway were dedicated and accepted into our county-maintained mileage system. So that will give us a resultant of 0.11 additional miles for the calendar year 2016. Also, just FYI, there's a topographical error that we corrected with you, Rhonda, and all of you have copies of the corrected numbers. And with this, we'll open it to questions.
Maybe we ought to redo it if it's got a bad typo.
So if the board would like to send it back to staff, we would accept that. Thank you.
We don't want to send it back to staff.
We would just make the correction.
No. Super Rogers.
Super Rogers, yes.
Hey. Oh, thank you, Max. You're the man.
Mighty Max.
Here I come.
That's good.
You guys got me rolling now. I just thought of how important it is that the public understands the enormous task we have before us in improving our road miles that we have, and the decreasing amount of money that we continue to have. And I'd like to see maybe the Public Works Director, along with yourself, develop a narrative that could be published in the press concerning that very thing. And I think it would help in the continuing education of the public that we develop that narrative, and then we can use that as well in our town halls and post it on Facebook, post it on our road Facebook. And I think there's just a general lack of understanding. People say to me all the time, well, I pay taxes, and how come my road looks like this, And what they don't understand is that lacking nexus between their property taxes and road repair, and the fact that there's a diminishing amount of funds coming from Measure A, and we have less to match all the time with Measure T because of the fact that it's stretched to its limits in every area. And then there are maintenance districts, of course, that don't understand that unless they raise their own rates, and some of them, like MD21, have a very small pot of money every year that we've been stretching as far as we can. Also an explanation of where we are trying to be innovative. I think Phil Toller's use of the grinding machine back over in MD21 as an example, we stretched our dollars 3 times what they would have gone otherwise. And Ahmad, you've been very tuned to that. You've been great, innovative. But I think the public just needs to understand in general that we don't have what they think we might have to do the roads.
I wholeheartedly agree with Supervisor Poitras.
Supervisor Poitras, then you have the floor, sir.
Oh,
you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. No, this excellent point, Supervisor Rogers. And it was interesting. Last Thursday, I was at 2 Thursdays ago, I was at my last CSAC beginner supervisor deal, and the Public Works Director for Stanislaus County made a presentation, and it was really impressive because this guy was able to, talk about, the cost each mile that as far as chip seal, slurry, overlay, complete reconstruction. He talked about how much money the county had for construction and what SB1 was going to mean for the county when those fees came in and so forth. And so it's one of those things where, we've got the information, different places on the website or whatever, but, a lot of times we just need to make it in plain English. And if I can go out on the road and go with, and in fact, I've talked to the MCTC people because they need to get out on the road and talk about Measure T and what's happened. And I think if we can work together and really get in all the districts and talk to folks about where, who, what, why, and how, then it's going to make a big difference. So, thank you.
Well said. Supervisor Rogers?
One more thing I'd like to add to that. And that is that while we go through this kind of a small media campaign, I think it's so necessary. Not only a narrative on Facebook and in the papers, wherever we can get that published, but also when we do a road project, let's do a short Facebook film of it, showing people where we're doing it, what we're doing, and how hard our crews are working. And this is where your money's going. That makes people feel good when they see their money being spent on things that matter to them. And people don't understand a lot of times. They say there's nothing being done. We had a guy like that. He wrote an article and said nothing was done. Well, I find that very offensive when majority of our department heads and people were putting their back into making things happen. So we want to show something's being done, and it may not always be what you want, but we're doing the best we can with what we have, and that is a very important point to make.
Yes, Supervisor Rogers, Jared with Public Works. You're absolutely right. Using social media is very powerful, and I know we talked about that at the workshop this last year. And so it is something that we definitely are going to start to utilize more. We have a little bit in the past, but definitely going to be using it more. In fact, we have a Parkwood project that's going to be starting with some rehab out there that we'll be able to get pictures and stuff up on there. But as you mentioned, it does come come to bring some criticism at time, because there are people who say, why isn't it being done in my neighborhood? Why isn't it being done over here or there, wherever?
We'll take that, you know?
Sure, and so there is absolutely a challenge there with the amount of funding we have. You mentioned declining funding. We've lost probably an average of over $1 million over the last 2 years in users tax. And as Supervisor Poitras mentioned, the SB1 passing is going to bring some new revenues. There's going to be some new rules and things that come with that, and we're learning about all that stuff through CSAC so that we can understand how we can use those fundings. There's some that will come straight to us. There's some that are going to be competitive, and so we're definitely on top of trying to figure out how to utilize all that funding the best we can, and of course tapping into Measure T and utilizing that to leverage federal and state funds as well. So,
thank you, Jared.
If I may just add another thing. What I've heard that we would need a narrative, plain and simple, just to tell people what we do with.
Something in layman's terms, maybe.
So we can do that, definitely. Also, we do have some material that we could show our efforts as Public Works Department towards the road improvements. Also, two things that are coming. I believe maybe in the next board meeting we're going to declare May 22nd to be Public Works Week. So that's another opportunity that we can also maybe mention something there. Another thing is at the management meeting up in Bass Lake, I was tasked as leading a group for road funds and road improvements and transportation. So me and my group, including Jared, is with them. We are going to put a presentation for the 6th of June, I believe, was the board date. So I'll make sure I'll incorporate everything I've heard today into that presentation, and you will see how the way we're going to move forward is to be proactive rather than reactive, by hopefully being able to establish an asset and pavement management system. So we'll come with these presentations and these recommendations for your direction.
And I'll offer, Robert Poitras said, it rings so true, but many times it's because we don't have the latest as far as information. I'll tell you what happens when I go fishing with we have 3 or 4 people go fishing with us 2 or 3 times in the summertime, especially my son. We're in county roads, Madera County roads, and he just looks at me and said, look at these roads, towards Ryan. I said, look at these roads. Then we cross over to Fresno County, brand new roads. He said, this is Fresno County, Dad. What happened to you guys? Where are you spending all that money? Then we go up to Shaver, above Shaver, up to Washon, and they're working all those roads up there. This is miles up there in the hills, and the roads are new also. The wintertime they get tore up a little bit. The springtime they're in there fixing the roads up, and I don't have an answer, because I tell them, I say, well, it depends on the money. Fresno's a lot bigger. They have more mileage. They have more taxes there. They pay more taxes, so they're better off than we are. We do the best we can with the money we have available. That doesn't satisfy me. I say, well, okay, well, he just got to give me a little smirk. He kids with me, But that's the theory, Our roads are so bad, and I complained because it seems like everything goes to District 5.
I had that discussion with your nephew yesterday at the dentist's office. Your nephew lives in my district.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really nice kid.
What did he say?
Oh, he said, you look familiar to me, and I told him who I was, and he said, boy, my roads are terrible over there. I said, well, let me tell you why.
Okay? Just a kid.
No, he ain't.
And
Fraser?
Yeah, and I was going to piggyback, because I got to sit in that discussion with Jared and Phil, and then talked with Ahmad after regarding, how do we transition from a reactive to a proactive approach, and that's the only way we're ever going to get anything done. And again, this problem wasn't created overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight until we have some way to do, like you talked about, this asset management system, payment and asset management system that shows us, what needs to be done. When we get our money, we plug it in, and this is where it goes. And so it takes out the political stuff, so Tom can no longer take all the money from the valley and put it up into eastern Madera County. it gets spread out and the computer doesn't see political boundaries.
On you, Tom.
Not that we do. They're jealous. But obviously, I think the computer would show that District 1 is in the most need to get help immediately. So,
computer may show that, but the potholes show that District 2.
but so I just wanted to thank the Public Works Department for trying right now to transition out of a reactive to a more proactive. And when we started that discussion, it wasn't like they had to think too hard about what they wanted to do. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and it's going to take our board setting that policy to allow them to have the tools to move forward in a proactive way versus a reactive way. And so, it's going to take a year or two of not a lot happening in people, but we're going to have to take those lumps so that we can finally get out of just patching potholes and actually fixing roads.
Supervisor Wheeler, rebuttal.
You took all my thunder. Took all my road money. I know what to say. First of all, Max, 168 up there to State Highway, all the way up there.
Yeah. Well, not on Wishon. Not on Wishon.
Through the Huntington.
Up to Wishon.
Well,
Wishon Road.
That's Edison. Forest Service. No county don't do nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely no county road there. Guarantee you that.
Stand corrected.
No, that's okay. I just, how much you got to quit picking on my roads. I got the worst roads. I got the worst roads in the county. Ask any of my town hall meetings. Look at you guys were there at Raymond. She says my Wheeler's roads is probably like glass. And I said, well, why don't you come up to my house anytime you want to, sir, and I'll let you drive down it and you show me where my road is better than your road, and I'll kiss it.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Okay, and I'm not done yet. And on that the bill that they just passed on that tax, the governor's going to take effect in November. We're lucky because we have got Measure T, and there's 20-plus counties that has extra help dollars like that, and there's either 300 or 500 million in that dollars just for those self-help counties. And if you remember last year, we wrote a really strong letter because those counties that hasn't got self-help, they tried to pass a law that they got some of these dollars for those roads, even though they weren't self-help. And luckily, how long that'll last, the legislature didn't pass that bill because they were going to take all that money that we worked hard to get our citizens to support. And so we do have that money in place to help anytime we can get the money. But, the people got to know that 2.5 years, the state has had no money, period. And they haven't had enough guts to pass any kind of legislation to do it until just now. Their last legislation, they took 2 weeks special legislation in the first part of December just for roads, and they didn't pass nothing. And so that's what I tell our people all the time. I explain to them why our roads are the way they are, and we can just patch, because that's all the money we have.
Norman, what is our reserve as far as the road department? Do we keep a large reserve?
I'd have to defer to Ahmad on or Jared on that one.
What do you mean by reserve?
And let me clarify. I think what he means in your terms is carryover. I've heard your staff talk about carryover, right, Jared? So when you talk about reserve, they don't have reserves, but they have what's called carryover. It's money from previous years. So, Jared, if you want to explain carryover.
Yeah, so in past years we have had a somewhat fairly decent carryover to carry us into those next year projects. But with the reduction in that highway users tax, that has been depleted over the last few years, and it's.
So there's a difference there. You got carry over and reserve. Carry over is projects that come under the estimate cost. Is that correct?
So what happens on carryover when there's money from that's allocated that doesn't get spent in 1 year, it gets moved over to the next year. So my understanding is you're not allowed to keep a quote reserve, but you're allowed to do carryover, and it's correct.
So
yes.
What did you repeat that again? You're not allowed to have a reserve. Not a carryover, a reserve.
Yeah, so properly, I mean, the only way the carryover functions as some form of reserve. You're not allowed to say, like the general fund keeps a certain amount of percentage in reserve. I don't believe the road fund's even allowed to do that, right, under the categories. It's not even permitted. So the only thing close to it would be carryover, which means you don't lose the dollars. In other words, you didn't spend all the dollars. They don't lose them. You keep them and transfer them over. So there isn't like a backup fund that's there in case you have a wet year like this year, right? That's what made this year so complex, was it wasn't like the standby. And in fact, when we've had emergencies, we have to go to Eric and Joel and say, hey, there's an emergency, and we got to go to the general fund contingency, right? So there isn't a contingency or reserve in the road fund because I don't believe it is allowed to be.
Norman, towards the end of the last recession, one of our previous administrators, CAO, proposed to borrow $6 million from the road department. Where was that money coming from?
Go ahead, Jerry.
I believe that was what was left over of Measure A at the time, which has all but been expended.
We spent that for the...
So that's a separate... That was the previous transportation sales tax measure before Measure T. So that funding that came to the county was a chunk of money that was used to continue to do projects that the county had, and there was a fair amount of money that came to the county at that time, and so I think it was borrowed at one point, but then paid back and then used for projects. So,
okay.
And let me clarify, and it turns out to be almost a bit of a collage of funding. When, most of you have seen this, but when this presentation, and by the way, June, they're going to bring this, if Supervisor Poitras or anybody's office wants to have a preview or a discussion in advance, Public Works is more than available to do so, because it's important to make sure that everybody's briefed appropriately. But there are funds that do hold, so special districts, if they have to actually build up money, because some of these districts don't charge enough to do a project every year, so they'll save up 2 or 3 years of funds, do they not, right, in special districts. So in special districts, they build up a reserve that has to do, but the highway users tax is just what we call the road fund, but it's really the highway users tax. That is highly restricted, highly audited, and has a long list of rules to do it, and I don't even understand them, but I'll just give you the layman's point of it too, because if we let Jared start talking, he'll be here for 45 minutes with all the rules that the highway users tax has. So, yeah.
Well, it's a prime example that we passed that today in consent calendar to Bass Lake Road Maintenance District. They pay $100 a year is all they pay. They got $300,000 in there by the backup I read last night in their road fund, and they only do 1 mile a year out of 6+ miles because they got to keep building it up so they can. And they're going to do 1 mile overlay and 1 mile of when they put the oil and stuff. So that's all they can do because they have to build that up. 560 lots at $100 a year is not very much money when you're going to go fix a road. And so they got to hold that money in our reserve for
Correct.
them.
They reserve the money, and then we plan a project for them, and we will do on this year.
And I can relate to that with MD21 because that's exactly what we do there. Exactly. We get $180,000 a year. We build that up, mesh it with Measure T, and try to get a lot done. So. Okay, I agree. People knew how complicated it was. They would just...
Okay, I move to approve...
public comment?
Oh. I move
bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve 7E.
Do we have a second?
Yep, as corrected.
Oh, as corrected for the number, the misprint on a number. Thank you.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. 7F, Public Works Department Capital Improvement Projects Division. Discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution to accept work and authorize the filing of a certificate of completion for Madera County Contracts Number 8511-C-2008 and 8511A-C-2016 with Shimmick Construction Company, Inc. for Road 209 improvements related to Madera Quarry, Inc. Conditional Use Permit Number 2002-020.
Thank you, Rhonda. Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In conjunction with the conditional use permit for Madera Quarry, it was required to construct a certain road improvement, 4.1 in length on Road 209. This work has been done, and our staff went and reviewed and verified that the work has been completed, and the the notice of completion have been submitted. So we are here for any questions.
Supervisor Wheeler, make a comment?
Yeah, I do. So did you get approval from Mr. Gray? Just asking. He's the one who complains every time. I just want to make sure you guys got this.
No, I don't think that's part of the motion or the project.
That's all. That's all.
So it's all done. It's up to our standards.
Yes,
What
the
they
project
said they were going to do. There's no changes.
The project is complete has been completed according to the original improvement plans that were approved by the county, with the revisions and additions that were added in the supplemental agreement that was approved. So all those conditions have been completed and.
So per the design,
correct.
It should be a safe road.
Correct.
We have you can't say it's the complete safe because user error.
Sure.
But it's safe for cars and trucks to be on it at the same time.
Yes, and I've actually driven it myself since they did the completions, and I know that one of the big issues and one of the added conditions to bring it up to the standard we needed was to do some of the shoulder paving and some of those tight turns.
There's shoulders and the
fog lines.
Yeah.
Right, because we were having rock that was getting all over the road, and I've driven it since those have been installed, and there's hardly any traces of rock on the road.
So is there supposed to be girders or whatever on the side? Guardrails?
They've installed the guardrails that were requested or added on the project, yeah.
So everything that we asked for, everything that was in the original design is in there?
Correct.
All right.
And as part of the agreement, they are required to maintain that stretch of road, by the way.
Oh, that was thank you. I appreciate it. That was my other part.
Any public comment?
Do they, I'm sorry, do they have like a maintenance, like how do they report that whenever they do the maintenance? Do they have to do certain things so that we know that it's happening?
Yeah, it spells it out in the supplemental agreement that we put together that was approved by the board. It's pretty detailed exactly what they need to take care of, reporting to the county when things happen. There's provisions in there that if they can't get out to do it in time and the county has to go do it, we can get the reimbursement from them. So it's pretty solid.
And our remedy for that is that the CUP isn't enforced. Is that correct? If they're not.
Yeah.
I figured. Okay. That's it.
Take it out to the public.
I move we
back for a motion.
I move we approve 7F.
Second.
Yeah, first and second, roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Have you heard from Mr. Gray at all lately? Because remember, he was calling every week about the gravel there for a while.
Item 7G, Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Discussion and consideration of approval to move all county-operated water districts to Stage 2 watering schedule, allowing outdoor watering twice per week except for Stage 3.5, MD7, SA19, and MD19. Stage 4 is MD73 and MD36.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ahmad Al-Kayat and the Chief, Norman Allender, here for moral support.
He was alone up there. I didn't want him to be by himself.
Well, as we all know, on April 7th, about a month ago, the governor signed Executive Order B40-17, which terminates the January 17th, 2014 drought state of emergency for all counties in California, including us. But with this new executive order, it took everybody off of, it lifted everybody out of the emergency status, except Fresno County, Kings, Tulare, and Tuolumne. So the county does not mean that our basins are already replenished. They may be, but very slowly. So the county is experiencing a slow recovery of its critical overdrafted groundwater basin. So accordingly, we would like to present these conservation measures and watering schedules to be responsible with the reality. And the 5 districts that will be on more stricter, less than twice a week, will be MD 73 Quartz Mountain, and if Rhonda, would you show the map, please? Yes. So here are the districts, and you have this map with you. So we're going to Quartz Mountain, Eastern Arcola will be on Stage 4. Stage 4 is no outside watering whatsoever. And then MD 7 Marina View, County Service Area 19 Rolling Hills, and MD 19 Parkwood will remain on 3.5, which is just drip irrigation twice a day outside, twice a week. And with that, we're open for any questions.
All the rest of them?
All the rest of them will be twice a week.
Twice a week.
So what days twice a week? So that we know, that's one question.
Yes, Supervisor, the schedule depending on your address. So I don't have it readily, but it will be staged. Yeah, I'll get you that.
While he's finding it, I'll say that it is based on address,
Yeah,
but he's going to announce it here. I agree, Supervisor. So even if we have questions, keep looking that up, because I'd like to say for the public at home, and especially Monte Pistoresi, so they know what's going on.
Okay.
That's going to be, that'll be the first question I'll get.
Sure. The first,
what day do I get to water?
If your address is an even number, if your street address is even, your watering days will be Wednesdays and Sundays.
Okay.
And odd-numbered street addresses will be Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Okay. Is there a limitation on number of minutes you can be running your water?
And while there may not be a limitation on that, let me.
There usually isn't.
But let
I don't
me.
know if that's something that we should get into. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll say that on its face, for everybody out there, one of the indicators is if water is running in the road, that is what is it called? Prima facie violation, County Council, right? So if water's running in the road from your property, that's a violation right there, right? Because
that's against state law.
Well, it is. It is. There's various laws on that one, and it's a clear indication that it's excessive watering if the water's running in the road, by the way. And I'll tell you this, we've discussed this in the concept of this in rural residential, which it doesn't apply, but my personal planning director's opinion, I don't want to get carried away here, is that this should apply to everybody. If you live on a 1-acre property, have your own well, and the water's running in the road from your sprinklers, to me, that's not a beneficial use of water, which is the term. I have talked to lots of farmers. I've even said, in an agricultural sense, if the water's running in the road, that's an issue. I have talked to more than one farmer that has said, if we see water running in the road, someone gets fired. Right? They are very, very conscious, the agricultural community, obviously, about water running in the road. So, to me, one of the ways we look at it, and to see if someone's doing excessive watering, now we're back to what we're really talking about, the districts. If someone's watering excessive, we'll know it because you'll see water standing in the road, and that's one of the indicators of that. So,
okay. And then my follow-up, so the ones that are staying on stage 3.5 and stage 4, that's not indefinite. There's issues that need to be addressed with their system, and then they can be taken off as well.
Correct. These are systems with challenges that we elected to put them on a more strict.
So do you have in your authority the ability to take these off without having to come back to the board? Can we do that as part of the motion?
Absolutely. Actually, I came in front of you just to inform you and let you know about the executive order that was signed and how we would like to be more responsible of our groundwater usage. But it is within the Public Works Director's authority to establish the conservation measure. I do not have to come to the board.
And then how are we going to let everybody know about this?
Definitely we do mailing with their monthly or quarterly, mostly monthly bill about the water schedule, and we solicit it every which way. But definitely everybody gets their watering schedule on their bill.
Okay.
And let me clarify a little bit. The board in the past and for years had delegated this authority to the Public Works Director or the county engineer. But for the last couple of years, since it's, first of all, the public, we want to let the public know, and this is one of the great ways to get it out there. And secondly, we want to make sure the board validates these, because this has been such an acute situation that we want to make sure that the board is on fully in line with where we're going and informed of where we're going, because we don't want there to be any miscommunication, because this is such a sensitive topic. So short answer is the county engineer, Public Works Director, has the authority to assign these and change them. But I think he and I both came to the point of view that it may be better that we do this in open session. And now, again, if I'm wrong, please, I'll take the responsibility. If you say if I've had this before, if we're asking you too much to how to do our jobs, that's my responsibility, and I'll take that, from you here, that criticism. But I typically thought we should do this in open session because I thought it was so important. So,
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, you were talking about the farmers, you see water running down the road. What about the guy's got 5 acres and he's got water running down the road?
That's why I said rural residential, same thing. You've got a 5-acre property and you're watering your grass. We don't have that program in place. From my point of view, and I've said this for years, a waste of water is a waste of water. We only regulate the districts because they are on a finite system. My preference would be that any outdoor watering that occurs that's considered to be wasteful, we should deal with.
Can we work on an ordinance to do that?
Yes, we have discussed it with the board several times, and we can, we'll take a look at that.
The second thing is like Marina View, they've passed all that up there, and hopefully they'll start construction on redoing their water system by the end of the year, maybe. They got fully funded. I think it's $8 or $6 million to do that, so that'll be taken care of whenever they get it done. But it's probably going to be a year and a half at least. So they need to be on that because they don't have the water.
Anybody else?
Can it say if you choose to water, these are your days? You don't have to?
Absolutely can say that.
Yeah.
I'll, not to get too far off track, but my front yard is still brown. And I know my neighbors are really not happy about it, and I'll let you know I'll be doing something about it soon. But my front yard still doesn't get water. So
I do know some.
The city, they keep a check on that. They have patrol. I water on Wednesdays and Sundays,
right.
And what you're talking about with us, it runs down the curb.
It's no different in the city.
That's the first warning.
Yes.
And then there's a fine.
Yes, and that's a key indicator, it's an easy one to enforce. When you're doing enforcement, literally when you write the ticket, you have to, the audience for that could be the Board of Supervisors or even a judge if it goes all the way, right, when it comes to enforcement. So when you do want to take enforcement against somebody, you have to be able to prove your case, and one of the ways you see the water running down the road, it's common.
All right, let's take it out to the public. Bring it back to the board for action.
Move we approve item 7G and put some ads in the papers and everything else to get this out.
All right.
Second.
We have first and second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-1 absent.
Very good.
7H, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District Number 42, Steel Meadows, Public Works Department, Municipal Services Division. Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement between the County of Madera and Hillview Water Company on behalf of MD 42, Steel Meadows, for consolidation of potable water service and system maintenance.
Chairman, members of the board, I just wanted to highlight something here. This is a consolidation of a county water system into a private water company. I have to say it's a great idea, folks. Yes.
Thank you, Rhonda, Norm, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. MD 42, which is Still Meadows, went through a feasibility study via a grant by the state, and because their water had high levels of gross alpha uranium and arsenic, the feasibility study, the result of it was the most feasible solution is a consolidation with the nearby private company, which Hillview Water Company. We have met with Hillview, the state, and the residents of MD 42. We come up with an agreement between the county and Hillview, and we've did many public outreaches, many updating the residents on the history and the condition of their system and where we go from there. They all seem to like it pretty much, and the agreement has been reviewed by council, and we're ready to move forward. And this is a precondition for us to get the grant again for the construction of the connection and the water distribution system. So I take your questions from here.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank staff for meeting with those people, because some of them are pretty difficult too, but they give such a presentation that they are all about, I think, 99% was for it. So any board members, any questions? Public? What's your pleasure, board?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-1 away.
Okay. Item 8, pending legislation.
Well, you just slid right into that, didn't you?
Got to keep it going, man.
Good morning, Board. Brittany Dyer, District Chief of Staff to Supervisor Tom Wheeler. Originally, we were going to be presenting on two different bills, a Senate bill and an Assembly bill today, but after further research, we're actually only going to be doing one, and that is Senate Bill 265. This was in partnership with both Berry Hill and Bigelow. They work closely on this. And if you look at it, it actually specifically benefits Tuolumne County. However, it does have the future aspects of being able to potentially benefit us as well. And so, if you guys recall, you approved a California Disaster Assistance Act in kind for match for Madera County at $500,000. That's 25%, and then we get 75% from the state. This would be able to have counties reduce it to 10%, which would free up further money down the line. But the caveat is that you cannot go for this unless you already have your hazard mitigation plan in place. Ours is currently being developed with the Sheriff's Office and OES. They've gone out for RFP, as your board knows. So right now what we're trying to do is support this bill for Tuolumne in hopes that in time, when our hazard mitigation plan is complete, that we would also be able to look at similar legislation that could specifically help Madera County. And it is set currently to go to a hearing next week. It's a little far-fetched. You know, the governor doesn't tend to sign things like this, so the more county support that we can provide, especially in the high-hazard counties, the 10 identified high-hazard counties by the Governor's Tree Mortality Task Force, the better off we are. Does anybody have any questions?
Just real quick, Mary Alice was at our Shimisquai RCD meeting last night. She asked for this, and so I said, me and Nathan Masag and Kyler Crocker, his chief of staff was there, but their chief of staff is for all 5 of them. But anyway, they said that they agreed with me. We didn't want to support it if our counties weren't involved. Well, she got a hold of Berry Hill while I was at the meeting, and she said, hey, he'll support, if we get our hazard mitigation plan done, he'll put another bill in right then to do it. If we can get one done, we got the ice broken. And so that's the reason we got to really support this. So you guys give it a thumb up. Brett did, I see. You did? Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany.
We just done pending legislation. Any other pending legislation? None. Now we can.
Number 9, supervisors and staff reports.
Mr. Chairman, 2 weeks ago I attended my last session of the new supervisors education deal for CSAC, and the next day I attended a road charge technical advisory committee meeting, and the road charge test pilot program is over as of 3/31, so we're assembling information on that, and that information will be available soon. Also, this Thursday is Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, 6:50 a.m. at Hatfield Hall, and then Relay for Life this Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Sunday, not yesterday, but Sunday, we had the Madera County-wide call firefighters, got to get that right, annual luncheon, and we gave out certificates for all the 5, 10, 15, 25, up to 35 years service, and it was packed, the whole First Community Center, and great turnout, and and Jay Varney, he came to it too, so we had pretty good representation for all those guys that we supported, and they really supported us on that Major L, and I can't tell you how many of them come up and said they were sorry it didn't pass. So, and I told them we'll be looking out for them some more. We'll see what we can do to keep moving forward. And so it was really important to be there to represent you guys there so that they know that we're still behind them, their backs, because they were hurt. I mean, they really were for what they do for our people in this county. So, but that was pretty good. And then there was a bunch of other stuff. Probably the most important, I went to a funeral service for Lee Craw, lifelong North Fork resident, school bus driver for Sierra High School. And I can't believe even on Facebook, and I put it on there, how many people love that guy. And he actually wrote the highway patrolman's bus guidelines on driving, repair, how to do maintenance, everything, and it's still used by. It started out just the state, now it's nationally being used by that he worked on that. So he was a highway patrolman, #1 trainee when it came to bus driver. So great service. So anyway.
Yes, I attended the Regional Health Authority this last week, and we had a special meeting in which we decided to fund through our surplus funds. We gather funds through various means, and through the surplus funds, we are funding a program for new doctors, and I'm trying to think of what the term is, and I can't even. Their residency. Thank you. A residency program for doctors in our region to retain doctors in the region, and it's very important for this underserved community to have physicians available. Two of the physicians in the residency program are from Madera, so I was really excited to meet them, and one from Merced and one from out of the area, but she's going to be permanently located in this region, so it really is a benefit. The second thing I attended was the RCRC program in Tehama County, and as usual, just inundated with loads of information. Among them, that a Senator Dodd has proposed a piece of legislation to make wells, that you have to get a state permit in the state of California to drill a well, and I don't know. This is kind of
That's a new one?
Yeah, it's brand new, and he's proposed this, and it's on the docket. It's SB, and I can't remember the numbers, 256 or something like that. Don't hold me to that number. But there's loads of problems with this number, and I explained that we have our own legislation in Madera County that dealing with well permitting and requiring meters and all of this stuff, and then they go and do this. It just really, really grates on the nervous system when you have somebody like that.
Especially they need to let Sigma do what it does.
Yeah, Sigma is in place, and we're making an effort to accomplish Sigma. We're well down the line as far as counties go doing that, and I think this is just very premature. It's grandstanding. I think it's just really a sad state of affairs when the government wants to reach into every aspect of your life and interfere. But that's just one of the many problematic laws out there. There's a number of others, so and I could talk all day about them. But RCRC just keeps us really informed.
Tomorrow is the San Joaquin River Conservancy. We're holding a hearing regarding the River West EIR, which creates the Eaton extension and the access points. There's a lot of issues in the Fresno access points. They go through some residential areas, and so I talked with Norm and about our side, and there's a bunch of people upset about Fresno County side, and Norm is we've got a good access point in Madera County, and so just want to compliment our staff on their work on that. Yeah, we're already on top of it, and Steve Randall says, don't do what we did, and I said, we didn't. So, which is always nice to be able to say, and so there's that, and then this is coming later on in June when we present it, but I just wanted to say what a great process it was working with Eric, Melissa, and Deborah regarding the mission and vision statement. We're really excited to bring that forward to the board, and hopefully you guys will really like what we've done with it, but the process could not have been any greater, and a special thank you to our convener, Melissa, for having everything ready to go. We actually finished the work product in 35 minutes. We spent the next 10 minutes talking about how fast it was. I don't think anybody knew how to leave a government meeting before an hour had elapsed, but we still left after 45 minutes. So it was a fun process.
One more. CEO, you want to speak?
Yeah, go ahead. I forgot about Assemblyman Aguilar. I forgot what county she's from, down at L.A. or something. AB 1066. They're trying to make it so that all tree harvest dollars will have to be prevailing wages. And if they do that, might as well
that was another one. Yeah,
a quarter of our dollars that we get to spend right now will be all we would spend, because it'll be that's the stupidest thing.
That was another one they talked about at RCRC.
So make sure RCRC really keeps on top of that.
I know they think it's dumb.
It's more than dumb. Yeah, that's almost ridiculous.
All right.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Same here, Chairman.
Okay. Should we finish?
Verbal actions from closed session, Chairman.
An event at my house, 18th of May, 6 to 8, for Thursday night fundraiser.